Have you ever felt stuck, as if you have all the tools but still can't move forward? Have you ever wondered why some people achieve extraordinary results, while others seem to be spinning their wheels, even with access to the same opportunities? Tony Robbins, one of the world's foremost life and business strategists, states something powerful. You don't lack resources, you lack clarity. This simple phrase carries a profound truth, and it may be what's preventing you from taking the next step towards success. Many people believe the problem lies in a lack of money, time, or connections, but the reality is that everything begins in your mind, and more specifically, in the way you perceive the world, define your goals, and maintain focus. Successful people didn't necessarily start with more than you, but they had one thing that made all the difference: a wealthy and intensely focused mindset. In this content, we'll delve deeply into Tony Robbins' philosophy on mental clarity and focus, and how it can help you build a life of abundance, not just financial, but emotional, professional, and personal. We'll understand how small internal changes can generate enormous external results. You'll see that developing a wealthy mind has nothing to do with luck, but rather with strategy, vision, and purpose. And most importantly, it's within your reach, even if you're starting from scratch today. Throughout this journey, we'll answer questions like, what does it really mean to have a wealthy mindset? Why is clarity the first step to lasting success? How do you develop focus amidst so many distractions? What are the mental habits of people who build wealth and fulfillment? Prepare for a genuine transformation in the way you think, act, and react to the world around you. Because when your mind changes, everything changes. A wealthy mindset isn't just about money, it's about inner abundance. Tony Robbins teaches that people with this mindset believe there's always a way out, a solution, a new path. They don't live trapped by fear, scarcity, or victimhood. This mindset is built on three pillars: personal responsibility, a continuous pursuit of growth, and focusing on what you can control. Energy directed toward action, not complaint. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "This isn't for me," or "I'll never be able to do it"? That's a scarcity mindset, and it urgently needs to be replaced with phrases like, "What can I learn from this?" or "How can I make this happen?" Because when you know exactly where you want to go, your brain enters solution mode. It begins to identify opportunities, eliminate distractions, and attract the right resources. Think about it. Have you ever tried using GPS without entering a destination? No matter how fast you go, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up lost. The same applies to your life. Without clarity, you sabotage yourself. Here are three powerful questions to help you gain clarity today. What do I really want? Why is this important to me? What am I willing to do to get there? Write down the answers. When you write, you make the thought tangible, and that's the beginning of transformation. We live in an age of distractions, notifications, social media, information everywhere. But successful people have developed a superpower: laser-focused attention. Tony Robbins says that where your focus goes, energy flows. In other words, if you're focused on what's lacking, you'll feel scarcity. If you're focused on opportunities, you'll find solutions. A practical tip: start the day by defining 3 tasks that will move your life forward. Prioritize these actions before getting caught in the whirlwind of external demands. Focus is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Science shows that the human brain has difficulty operating amid ambiguity. When you live in doubt, your mind enters a state of stress and paralysis. But when you clearly define what you want, the brain activates a system called the RAS, Reticular Activating System, which begins to filter everything around you based on your goal. Tony Robbins uses this concept when talking about decisions. He says, it's not the conditions of your life that determine your destiny, it's your decisions. In other words, what you're missing may not be a new course, mentor, or investment. It may just be a true, firm, and conscious decision. Imagine you're at an airport and the board shows that your flight is on hold with no estimated departure time. You feel restless, not knowing what to do, Now imagine that the board updates takeoff confirmed at 7 p.m. Even if you still have to wait, clarity gives you peace, direction, and focus. One of the most significant errors hindering mental flourishing is accepting mediocrity in life. Tony Robbins emphatically states, "You get in life what you are willing to tolerate." If you tolerate living without purpose, working in a job you despise, or surrounding yourself with negative individuals, your mind enters a cycle of mere survival, not growth. To break free from this, you must elevate your internal standards. This begins with a potent question. What am I accepting in my life that falls short of what I deserve? Answering this question honestly can be painful, but it is this very discomfort that initiates your liberation. For the pain of discipline is temporary, whereas the pain of regret endures forever. Tony also teaches a powerful technique called incandescent visualization. He guides you to envision yourself possessing wealth, energy, and clarity, as if you were already living it now. This process is not merely a mental game, it is a training regimen for the brain to believe and act like a successful individual. A simple analogy: Olympic athletes visualize their performances thousands of times before the actual competition. Why? Because the brain does not differentiate between vivid imagination and reality. When you visualize with emotion and repetition, you are molding your nervous system for success. You've uncovered something profound. You don't need more resources, you need greater clarity. This is the foundation of Tony Robbins' philosophy and a cornerstone of a truly prosperous life. Many people believe they are stuck due to a lack of money, time, or opportunities. However, as we've seen, what is truly lacking is a clear decision about what one desires and the commitment to pursue it with unwavering focus. Tony is direct. When you know what you want, you find a way. When you don't, you find excuses. We discussed the distinction between an affluent mindset and a scarcity mindset. We understood that successful individuals cultivate mental habits that reinforce accountability, action, and long-term vision. They are not victims of circumstance, they are the architects of their own reality. We also explored how clarity is not just a motivational concept, but a biological imperative. The brain requires direction to function at peak performance. Without clarity, we enter a cycle of procrastination, doubt, and frustration. But when you activate your focus, your energy organizes itself, and everything begins to align with your objectives. And finally, we discussed the standards you accept in your life. The quality of your reality is shaped by what you tolerate. If you tolerate living below your potential, you live below what you deserve. But if you decide to raise your standards, both internal and external, your mind and the universe respond. It all starts now with you. It doesn't depend on anyone else. It doesn't require luck. You don't need to wait for the right moment. Clarity arises when you pause, look inward, and make a decision. I will live with purpose, focus, and an abundance mindset. Look at your life today. Where is clarity lacking? What is distracting you? What are you accepting that needs to be eliminated? What standards do you need to elevate to take the next step? Ordinary people wait for motivation to act. Extraordinary people make a decision and the motivation follows. If you've made it this far, congratulations. This shows you're not like most people. You're someone committed to your own evolution. And as Tony Robbins says, it's not what you do occasionally that changes your life, it's what you do consistently. Now is the time to transform knowledge into action, revisit your goals, question your decisions, and above all, seek clarity every day. Because a clear mind creates a rich life in every sense of the word. This is the time to live with purpose, with direction, with truth. Because when you know what you want, the world begins to respond.